Hey everyone, back for another interview here. Super pumped about this one. I'm actually here with one of my childhood friends from a long, long, long time ago, Cara. This is her son Zeke. We are actually going to discuss a subject that I think is one that's become a little more prominent. Seems recently it's just become, I think, more maybe accepted in the world, and that is autism. Cara actually, as I watch her on Facebook, as most people seem, that's how people connect these days.
Yeah.
This girl is freaking crazy. She is a parent to two wonderful kids who each have kind of their own thing that she deals with, and then she volunteers and she works full time and she helps with this organization and that organization. And I don't even know when you sleep because it looks like you never sleep. So I thought I needed to bring her here, let her tell her story on parenting this wonderful kid right here with autism and everything that they've dealt with. He is actually a senior at Kickapoo, correct?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So they've gone through a kind of lifetime of experiences so far. So we're here to kind of discuss that and what that all is. So.
Gosh, you said he was a senior.
He is. Yeah.
This has been a lifetime of it. When he was 9, 9 years, he was diagnosed with Asperger's disorder and ASD. So he had like a sensory processing disorder. So it puts him on the high functioning side of it. Of course, there's a whole spectrum, but he's on the more high functioning side. So the way we got to that was almost as much of a journey as it has been now. He was 3 years old, and his parents, his teachers lady, said that we needed to go get him screened for language development because he was flipping his consonants to the end of the word. It was almost like a Pig Latin sort of thing he was doing. Okay. So we went and got him screened for that, got him into language and speech therapy. So from the time he was 3 to 5, he was doing that every other morning. Do you remember doing that at Jeffries, the speech therapy?
Mm-hmm.
You were probably too young.
You were so little. So between 3 and 5, he was in the speech therapy, and then so she started noticing little things. And this was probably after the parents as teachers lady had mentioned it. That time sort of overlapped a little bit for us. But he would play with the cars, and instead of, playing with cars on a track, he would line them up by color and then by size. So, just little things like that. He walked on his tiptoes. Repeated everything twice. Just, things I would have never noticed. I was a first-time mom. Yeah. Things I would have never picked out for somebody.
This is normal for you.
Yeah. So the parents as teachers lady had mentioned it briefly. I didn't think about it. Then the speech teacher mentioned it. And I was like, okay, well, you're, a professional, you know what you're talking about. So I kind of looked into it and then just ignored it again because by then I had 2 kids. You just, the first one gets, forgotten about for a while. So then, we get into preschool, and one of his teachers finally, I remember the day, and I remember, you go good? The lights? Yeah. I remember her pulling me aside, and she said, you need to grabbed me. She's like, you need to screen him. You need to take him to the doctor, get him screened. He's talking, but we don't understand what he's saying. Yeah. And, she's like, the tiptoes, they were just listing things that everyone else had already listed. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I went to his doctor, Dr. Hanks, and they referred us to Burrell, the Autism Center.
Yeah.
Over there on Kingsley, is it? Yes. And we went through the 2-day screening process. It was ridiculous. They did play therapy. We had to get a physical. There was a lot of behind the door that I couldn't be a part of. So I'm like, and they came back with the diagnosis. So they're really great. They gave me a whole, binder full of things. And they're like, at the very end of it, they said, here's what you need to do. Here are your steps. First step was call Springfield regional offices. So I went to there and they, go through their process of application. And it's more of like a meeting. There's no screenings or anything. They approved us for services. We got referred to Abilities First, which is my go-to now for everything. Yes. They're a basic hub for every resource I need.
Great organization.
Yes. And we got a case manager there, and it's just been rolling since then. We've moved up to the Next Step program, but we've done you did job training through Abilities First. Well, preferred employment from Abilities First, because they pay for these things through their grants and all that. You know, they've worked as an advocate for me to get my IEP meetings. Every year you have to update those. And we got lucky. We had befriended a waitress at Prima's when he was a little baby, and she happened to just take an interest in him and go to child development classes, and she actually went with me to do a lot of these IEP meetings, but they also act as an advocate to go with me to these meetings because I don't know what half of them are. And it's just been, you know, it's an ever-changing, ever-growing, because as he gets older, his needs change, his sensitivities change, he adapts a lot better, and he's learning to advocate for himself now. Yeah. Like last night we went to Prima's. We're there a lot. And, you know, he spoke up and said, you know, no ice in my soda, because I just went ahead and ordered for him because I've got to watch that. But he spoke up, so he's learning too. But it's just been an ever-growing process. But the first, you know, steps, it feels like, you know, you finally get to the top of this mountain, you're like, okay, things make sense now. And then it's just people just start helping you, you know, build the bridge.
What's been the hardest thing kind of going from elementary, now realizing you have a diagnosis, to middle school, you start changing classrooms and all that, and now, you know, in high school, which is a whole different environment, what kind of struggles have you guys
The hardest thing, and I think you would agree with me, is getting the school to understand what you need to succeed.
Yeah.
And, you know, we did great in elementary school. Because we had, Liz Cooper was the principal over there, and she was great, and she worked with us, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And she was one of the first people, because I had such a hard time putting that, the IEP was one thing, setting that up, which the individualized education program, because we had already done that for his speech therapy to continue that into the grade school years. Yeah. So we already had one, but to put autism on paper voluntarily for your child is hard. The first time is hard. I don't care how prepared you are for this. It's hard to do. And she helped me. She was like, it'll help him. You know, put it down. Just put it on there. Yeah. So she encouraged me. So I would say elementary school for you was easy. Don't you think?
Yeah.
You had a fairly good time.
Yeah.
I mean, you had some behavior issues, but you were a little boy.
I do always still remember one teacher, Miss Little.
Lytle? Oh, yes.
Yeah.
She was your favorite?
Yeah. Didn't she do a thing where she, like, gave away different, like, stuffed animals or something?
I don't remember.
Like rewards?
Yeah.
Ah.
I think there was one that was, like, a stuffed spider, and I had it for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember that!
Yeah, and I lost it.
I remember that. Yeah. Isn't that funny, the things that you remember?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so they were great.
I guess that shows how much of an impact she's made on me.
She's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Mr. Mendenhall really took time and stepped aside and kept you after class and worked with you a lot, too. But so these elementary school teachers, I think they just, maybe they're just used to working with younger kids and they have more patience. I don't know. But once we hit middle school, I mean, like you said, the changing classes. Yeah. I mean, imagine being, like, sensory, you know, sensory sensitive. I hate saying that, but there's really not a great group of words for it. But so suddenly it's loud. There's kids touching you. There's a lot of, like, those coats that whistle, like that I have. There's just a lot of senses that are just being hit, and you have to try and navigate through them. I mean, that's hard anyway.
Yes.
So he had that to deal with, and behind the scenes, I'm having to deal with Carver, which is great now. They're great now, I think. At the time when we started, autism's hard because if you have Down syndrome, if you're blind, if you have a wheelchair, you know,
it's a set
diabetic even, there's a very strict set of rules, and people know them. You know, ramps, Braille, you know, you
have the resources.
You know it, right? Resources. Yeah. If you have autism or any other sort of spectrum disorder, and there are so many, people don't know. He looks, I mean, he's a little scrawny, but he looks, you know, he doesn't, it's hard to tell, you know. You awake? Yeah. It's hard to, you know, nobody knows how to deal with them. Right. You know? Right. So getting a teacher to believe that, I mean, I actually had a fight with them at one time that Zeke's making the choice. You know, he's playing into his autism. They told me this was a choice, and I did not fare well.
Yeah.
I lost it on that. It would have been great to have two parents in that situation. Mm-hmm. One to be cool and one to
the good bad cop.
Yeah. So Carver was hard, and I don't know why that was. I think you just meet the right kinds of people and they listen to you. His last year, your 8th grade year, was when Dr. Powers started, right? Was that your last year? I think it was your 8th grade year.
I think so, yeah.
And she was great. She was like, tell me all about this. Send me links. I want to know. What do I do?
Mm-hmm. So she found interest in it.
She was interested. She learned about it. You know, you get to meet Zeke. And once you meet him, he's great.
Right.
He's funny and he's very self-aware. And he's easy. It's just, you know, you learn to prevent these things. And
right.
So middle school is really hard. And then high school, Kickapoo's great. As Dr. Powers' husband is the principal over there. So they're great anyway.
Yeah.
But they also have a lot more resources. They have a bigger special education department.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're, you know, we got lucky because I have a good friend that's in the special ed department over there that got Zeke's case file. She's his case manager. So she can speak for him because she knows him on a personal level.
Which is helpful.
Which is very helpful.
Yes.
And unfortunately not easy to find.
Yes.
In a school that size.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest challenge, was getting the school to listen and understand us.
Yes.
And prevention is 98% of helping these kids.
Now, I recall, maybe when you started Kickapoo, you wrote a letter.
Oh, yeah. You loved that. When we were viral for a month.
Yes. Mm-hmm. She wrote a letter and a news article.
I remember that.
And all the people wanted to interview you.
Yeah.
Because you basically wrote a letter to all the other students saying, just treat him like a normal person. When you see him in the hall, say hi. Mm-hmm. You know, just don't run from him. Don't be scared of him. Stop pretending like he's a problem.
Yep.
And I thought, wow, good for you, Mom, for stepping up and being that person. You may not have liked it as much, but Mom was being rock star at that time. I'll tell you that. How did that, obviously it went viral, and you said that. Mm-hmm. How did that fare? Did it help him? Did you see things that were good? Yes,
I did. And the reason I did that, when we went to tour the school, because Christy took us into the school, that's the case manager, a little girl she was a freshman, approached him and complimented his band t-shirt. He had a Panic at the Disco t-shirt on. Yeah. And he didn't really say thank you. He didn't really, but he doesn't. He doesn't even say hello when you answer the phone. It's just, he just doesn't. And he doesn't even think about it.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh no. These kids are going to talk to him, and he's not going to respond. And it's not because he doesn't like them or that he doesn't want to have a conversation. He just doesn't know that social cue.
Right.
And so they're going to write him off like that because this is high school and kids are brutal.
Yeah.
And so I got nervous. Thank God this little girl this freshman was understanding and patient. And I came to find out later she actually had a relative. I can't remember the story now, but she has a relative that's on the spectrum. And I mean, we all do.
Yes.
So she understood it.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh God, he's going to walk into that school and I can't be behind him and say, this is why he's doing that.
Yeah.
And this is why he's doing that. And he's not going to sit there and explain it to them because he doesn't care to explain it to people. Right. So I was just sitting out there. I think it was the third day. And I watched him walk into that school. And I mean, it does not ever get easy when you have a kid like that.
Yeah.
It makes me choke up just thinking about it. But watching them walk into that school and just not knowing what's going to happen to them that day.
Right.
And how he's going to deal with it. And so I just sat there and I just typed it up and I took a picture of his student ID just so people would know his face. And I was really just trying to be it was just an instrument. If somebody, because I knew I had some teachers, I had Kim Harris over there.
Yeah.
And she runs the A+ program.
Right.
So I knew she'd see it and she could, you know, I just wanted to get some eyes on the ground in there.
Mm-hmm.
And in that sense, it worked beyond what I thought it would work.
Awesome.
I mean, we were on the front page of the paper,
yes.
This is, we were in Us Weekly, this is Zeke, and he has autism, and here's how, just react. This is how you act around him.
Yeah.
Just treat him normal. He's not going to react the same way that you would expect, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Just give him a little more time.
How has high school been so far?
It's high school, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah?
But that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's just regular high school.
Say we all struggle in
high
school to some degree.
God.
high school is, like you said, it's brutal. Just because you're going through so much yourself as an individual, and then you feel like you have to be a part of so many things, and people are mean. And I don't know if you're experiencing this with either one of your kids. I felt like when we went to school, there were the bullies. There were obviously the mean kids.
Mm-hmm.
But when Ethan went to school, I was like, no, I think they've gotten worse. I think they've gotten more aggressive. And maybe I just wasn't a part of it, so I didn't realize it in high school. I don't really know. But I almost feel like social media has allowed them to be more aggressive and more.
Yeah. I think there's a lot we don't see.
Yeah.
And that almost scared me more because I remember being in high school and seeing like a kid that I thought was kind of weird. Like I was one of the weird kids, I know I was, but I remember seeing one of the kids that I thought was weird.
Yeah.
And I remember teenage girls are the meanest creatures on the planet. I remember getting with my friends being like, this guy. Yeah. I didn't want that happening because this is a really cool kid.
Yeah.
And they're just going to write him up. So that was part of my fear, and I thought, well, I'll just speak their language, and I'll just get on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I had kids Snapchatting me from his school. I had the cheerleading team ready to, like, escort him down the hallways, and I was like, please don't make
a scene. Don't make a scene.
Yeah. So, and in that...
been the cool guy with all the cheerleaders.
I know. They were, like, willing to follow him. He's mortified by the whole thing, but when he's older, I know he's going to see. Yeah. You know, it did help in that brief, embarrassing moment. It really was the best thing for you, and I'm so sorry I did that to you. I didn't let the cheerleaders flank you, though. Maybe he'll be mad at me for that later, and it'll, like, switch around. He'll be like, God, Mom, why didn't you let them escort me?
Yes.
So I think, I don't know, I feel like it was pretty bad when I was in school. Like, I got barked at. I feel like it was bad.
I mean, I knew it was happening. Maybe I was oblivious. Like, I just was like, I don't care.
You were like a cheerleader, though.
But I wasn't part of the super popular crowd. And so...
That's true.
For me, it's almost like I just didn't care, maybe. Like, it was happening, and that's probably terrible that I was like that,
maybe you were just focused on something else.
Maybe. I don't know.
You were, like, uber smart.
I just know as a parent, like, watching Ethan, I'm like, I think it's worse. Like, I feel like it's worse now.
I think you're right. I think it's way more aggressive and brutal.
Yes.
Because they can say more. I mean, and they almost have to, because these kids, I mean, they're kind of jaded anymore. They see...
Yeah.
The whole internet is there. Like, we were just, when it was just starting, like, you had to really commit to getting online when we were kids.
100% dial-up was, like...
Yeah, you got the disc, and it was, like, a good Friday night. Yeah. Like, so I think that's a lot of it. And it scared me. I mean, it still does, because I've got a little teenage girl, too.
Right.
And that's a whole other...
Yeah. So there's something to talk about how, obviously, very different children. Which I understand you can have two different children regardless if one's on the spectrum or one isn't. How do they handle each other? You know, how does that work at home?
They're great, I think, with each other. I think they complement each other really well. When Cameron, because I had her right at the beginning of everyone telling me to get him screened, and I kind of just forgot about him. I didn't, like, forget about you, but, you know, you stop paying attention when you have to nurse a baby every 2 hours. But so she started, you know, they were growing like this together, and then she just, boom.
Yeah.
All his milestones sort of stopped getting met, and she was just going. And for a while, I was like, well, this is a girl-boy thing. Yeah. But then you get into school, and you realize how much different it is. So in that, she really helped me in a way that she doesn't even realize.
Yeah.
Get him the help he needed. And now she's his little sister, so she grew up watching him as her, you know, that was her model of how to be. So she, you know, she would eat only the foods that he would eat, those textures. So, you know, she's a texture eater now, but is that because of him or because she's just Cameron? I don't know. Yeah. And the coats, that you know, polyester, that coat that whistles, she hates those. But that's because he can't wear them. Okay. Of course, I have one, and I hugged him the other day, and I felt awful, and I didn't even think about it. And you would see, that's what I mean. Like, I can't believe they thought I could handle you.
So you're really patient with your mother. Is that what your mom's saying right now?
I am making loud noises.
It makes me even give, like, a kind of minor version of the reaction whenever I even hear about the material. Then, like, my brain is imagining it. And it's like,
Yeah.
don't like.
How do you handle your sister? You happy you have a sister and all of that, I assume?
Yeah.
Yeah? Is she one of your best friends?
She doesn't do too great at, like, keeping, like, promises, though, and stuff.
Yeah. Some of that may be her
Like,
age.
I keep asking for her help on things on our games, and then she
Okay.
just never does them.
So you guys play video games together?
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that is a lot of the little sister part of it.
Yeah, I mean, her age still.
Yeah.
How old is she?
She's 15. Oh, she's 15. She turned 15 yesterday. That's just, she's still a little sister, and I think that's good for him. But in a lot of ways, she'll help him, you know. She woke him up for me so I could get to this interview. She will help with if he's making some shells and cheese, she'll kind of come in if I can't be there. She's mommy number 2.
Yeah.
You know, which is great, but she also is a little sister. So she gives him some sort of normalcy in that.
Yeah. Which is awesome.
Which is very helpful.
Yeah. So, what type of video games do you play?
Uh-oh.
Usually, like, just different games of, like, different sorts, like Fallout 4, though that one I don't really play much anymore. It's gotten kind of boring.
Okay.
Same kind of goes for Skyrim.
Yeah. You like the shoot 'em up type games?
Sometimes, yeah.
I always hear people talk about, the Call of Duties and the, real fire and whatever.
Yeah, we got into Grand Theft Auto pretty bad over the quarantine.
Yeah? Yeah.
I think that's mainly my sister, though, not me.
Oh, yeah, but she would be like, Zeke, I need you to come do this mission because I can't do it and you're better at it. And you'd come in and you'd just, like, clock those guys out and you'd be like, you'd put the controller down and walk off. And I'm like, that was awesome. That was awesome. She's like, yeah, he's really good at this.
With the quarantine, I guess you're still virtual learning.
Wasn't there one where she needed help landing a helicopter,
Yeah,
though?
she can't land helicopters.
Virtual learning, you're doing that now? Mm-hmm. You're doing that regardless of
we were doing
schooling.
That anyway.
Yes. Okay.
Yep. We were doing that anyway because his sleep schedule, it's very hard for him to get to sleep because when you're being bombarded with senses, it's hard. Yes. So his sleep schedule would really mess up. And so, in the mornings he would have just been going to bed. So I would be emailing and calling school and like, hey, he's not coming in again today. So they finally were like, would you be interested in, like, homeschool? And I'm like, nope. They're like, no. Yeah. We send you a teacher. You do everything online.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know was a thing.
Right.
And they don't tell you a lot of these things.
Right.
Which is what, like, MPACT and Abilities First are great for. Because they're like, here's all these secret resources they don't share.
Yes.
So once they explained that to me for him, then I started using it for Cameron also. So quarantine and virtual school has not been an adjustment at all because we were already doing that for a year.
Got it. Okay.
Of course, the intention was to go back at the beginning of this year,
right.
But everyone had intentions at the beginning of this year.
That's all kinds of messed up.
Yeah.
So when we first met about this project, talked about my nephew.
Yeah.
Is also on the scale. He is also sensory overload syndrome or whatever. I'm sure there's an exact name, and I should know that name. And
I wish. Sensory processing disorder.
Okay. So we kind of compared notes. We talked a lot about IEP.
Yeah.
So other parents out there that may be listening to this, and, my sister being a teacher has struggled. She has to prepare IEPs. She has to do one now for her son on the schooling side, so she sees both sides. The complaints I hear from her as a teacher, the complaints I hear from her as a teacher are different, or as a parent are different.
Yeah.
What advice would you give going into IEP meetings and really what that entails?
I think at the beginning when you had said that, the thing that I wish I had known when I first started this, that I'm so sorry that I didn't know till later, that IEP is your document. You control what goes in it, you write it, you're the one that signs off of it. It is your document. It's not the school's.
Yeah.
And it's a binding legal document. The IDEA Act. Yeah. They made those possible. It's your plan. Well, Zeke's plan. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that was my plan to edit and to write on and add to. I thought they were handing me a sheet of paper and I was signing it.
You had to agree to whatever.
Yeah. And until that waitress from Prima's, her name is Kaylee, and I love her.
Everybody asks for Kaylee at
Kaylee
Prima's.
Stark. She doesn't work there anymore. She's a child development specialist over at Cox now.
Oh, that's a bummer.
I know. She's where she belongs. And she said, no, that's your document. You change it. We'll fix it to be what you want it to be.
Yes.
I didn't know that, and they won't tell you that.
Yeah.
Because, and, this public school system does what they can, but, I mean, imagine if you have to take care of how many thousands of kids. It's hard to spend as much time on one kid as I was demanding they spend on my kid.
Yes.
And you just have to make them.
Yeah. So, what's funny is my sister, I hear about her saying how she has to, tear at the parents to get them involved. Please get involved. So, from what I hear from the teacher standpoint, I would say be the advocate.
Yeah.
Make the change, have the conversation, because she is struggling sometimes to get parents to want to build it and react to it. And so, I think it's awesome that you got involved.
Yeah, that wasn't me. I was very aggressive. Probably, I probably went onto the other end of that spectrum and just got very aggressive. But this is your kid.
Yeah, you want it to be.
I could see that, though, because they don't have the knowledge or the education, and not that anyone's stupid, but, they don't know that. Right. They don't know what their resources are, and there are many.
Yes.
They don't know that they have full control over their kids' education, and they have to be given it.
Yeah.
And I think once you have that empowerment and that knowledge, and, if you don't even know where to start, just calling MPACT.
Okay.
I have that.
Yeah, we'll add it in the comments. Yeah.
And they'll just send somebody with you. And if they hear something that's not right, they'll be like, "Whoa, wait a minute." And once you get that behind, and you get an army behind you and a community, you'll start learning, and then you can get what you need.
Yes.
That's the best advice, because, the IEPs are hard, and every school system is different.
Yes.
In their rules and what their accommodations are. But
probably every grade level has something different, really.
Right. And every kid is different. No two kids with autism are the same.
Right.
Ever. There's a lot of similarities, but never the same.
Yeah.
And, he's been my greatest resource of all, is just asking him, what do you need?
Yeah.
Pencils. He needs pens. I didn't know that. He suggested that.
Yeah.
Forever ago. So I got that on his IEP. Even if you think it's something silly and stupid, it could make a difference.
Yeah. So my son, deaf on one side.
Okay.
He also has tics, which the doctor at one point had said it is some form of basically Tourette's.
Okay.
He doesn't have the verbal form.
Thank goodness.
Yes. Thank goodness. But, what's funny is my sister, being the teacher she was, said, if you can get on the 504 program and avoid diagnosis and IEP, it will be simpler. And I commend her for throwing that out, because we were able to get his deaf needs covered through the 504, but then I didn't have to do the Tourette's thing. The tics, he would just tell his friends, this is what I do. Sorry.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to have a teacher on your side.
Right. Would you have known 504 was a thing?
Not at all.
Cameron has a 504, my daughter. And if I didn't have him and all his resources and help and the teachers, 504.
Yeah. So for anybody that doesn't know, I'm sorry, we should explain. IEP is a specific plan for whatever diagnosis whatever student has. So he has his own IEP that says, here's what he needs, here's what you have to do for him. This is if he gets a few extra minutes to do this or that, he needs to see a certain person at class, he needs to go to the bathroom so many times a day, whatever it is.
It's an individualized education program.
All the stuff.
Yep.
A 504 is very more specific to a specific need. The resource is usually funded through school, or Ethan's was. For Ethan, it was he had to sit on a certain side of the classroom because of his hearing. And when he was on the other side of the classroom, the teacher would wear a microphone and he would wear a device where he could hear her no matter where she was.
Perfect.
And the school covered that. And that's what his simple 504 plan, which is kind of a way simplified version of an
Yeah, it's
IEP.
way less involved.
Yes.
It's more of a specific need or behavior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's the one thing versus several things.
Yeah, a whole binder full
That's
of
a
needs.
way
Yeah.
simplified version of what a 504 and an IEP because there's way more details.
Yeah.
But
Both
the people
very
listening,
important, though.
yes.
Both very important.
Yeah. It was a thing. So you mentioned that you did some job training through Abilities First. What did you do? What did you learn?
Amy Davis was his job coach.
Yeah.
She's great. She's at Preferred Employment. She's what is her title now? She changed. She's moved up higher.
I don't know.
He would meet her at these specific, I'm just going to take over and explain what you did, and then you can tell from there. She has job sites throughout the area.
Yep.
She goes and he essentially it's volunteer work.
Yeah.
So he can build a resume. And she goes out to these job sites, and they're given jobs, and there's several other kids there, right? There were several other kids out there.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it was you and, what was his name? That other boy at the thrift shop? Quincy?
Quinn?
Quinn.
I think it's just Quinn.
Okay, so anyway, they would give them jobs, and, she shows them how to, did you do timesheets? Clock in and out. She, take instruction, answer to a supervisor. Very, basic stuff. Then you worked out at the zoo for a while. They did cross lines. I don't think we ever went out to that one, though. So she had several,
Huh.
So what'll happen next is now that he's 18, he can go get a job.
Right.
So she'll go with him, or she'll send one of her people, and they'll, do the application process. They'll shadow him.
Okay.
Help him, get used to things. It's great.
Yeah.
When you can't be for sure what kind of place you're sending him into.
Right.
Or what he's going to,
Right. So what type of skills did you learn at those places? What did you do?
We at the thrift shop, one thing we would try and avoid doing it though, because I hated doing it. Hangers.
The hangers.
Oh.
Yeah, we'd have to go through and collect empty hangers.
Yeah.
That was a lot of it though. I remember your first day of job
Yeah.
training, and you're like, oh my god, all we did was collect hangers. And
Yes.
Amy, she's so great. She's like, yeah, work.
Uh-huh. All jobs kind of stink, actually.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
sorry.
She does tend to say fake it till you make it, though. I don't know what to think about that.
She's not wrong.
You don't like the saying, or what?
Just don't like it.
Okay. I mean, that's fair.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Do you know what she means by that, though?
Mm.
Just kind of keep going till you get there. I know when she said it was when you didn't feel like being there, which is every day at work. Unless you're lucky and you have a job that you love.
It's all passion. Yeah.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah.
Passion projects.
That's right.
If you get lucky and you get something like
Yeah.
that, but
I'm not making money doing this.
I know.
So
it's just a project.
It's really just a project.
Fake it till you make it. It's like you just go through the movements until you make it.
It's fair. You
Home.
don't like it.
Make it home.
Yeah. So what did they offer versus the base program through Springfield Public Schools? They do something very similar.
It's very similar.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's the same.
You're just choosing which program you're choosing.
We just went with Preferred Employment because it was just offered to us.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's the same thing. I think the base program gives you credits.
Yes.
And this one doesn't.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, right now most of their stuff is at Cox North, and they're sanitizing a whole bunch of stuff right now because of COVID.
They're also
Inventory.
not necessarily special education directed.
Yeah.
So they'd be more like just neurotypical kids.
Yeah. Of course, my sister teaching that, she has more autistic kids, I think, in this class than she's had,
that's really important.
Mixture-wise, than she's had before.
I think that's important for employers to see, too.
Yeah.
How to work with these kids.
It's a thing.
Because, you could tap into some serious hardcore focus.
Yes.
With kids like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if they get interested in something,
yeah,
you got yourself a hard worker.
So what is the potential for school outside of high school with Zeke and being independent and all of that? What does that look like? You don't know?
Scary. I know.
Okay.
It's just scary.
Yeah.
There's a transition plan that we're starting now. Well, that we've been doing since he was 16, so it's not starting. through Abilities First, the Next Step program that they have. So
Okay.
we kind of write down our goals and what we want,
Okay.
you know, and I try not to aim too high because as a parent, that's what you want. You
Yes.
just want to just,
You want
you
everything.
know, everything. And I don't want to overwhelm him or myself or any of our resources. I just try and, you know, set the next best goal.
Yeah.
So school for him is probably more like a technical college just
Okay.
because that's what he'll apply himself to more.
Yeah.
He doesn't care to learn all these extra classes that he won't need, and that's been a big struggle in all schools all so far. It's like, when am I going to use this?
Yeah.
And I don't have a good answer for a lot of it.
Yeah, because we all went through that in high
Yeah.
school. I mean, that is normal.
And I don't, you know, you don't like to lie to your kids. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't think you're ever going to conjugate. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's probably the next best step, and then,
Yeah.
you know, job, wherever, pet store, I don't know.
You're a pet lover?
Oh my gosh.
I do see all the pictures on Facebook.
One of the things I always find ridiculous in schools, though, is like having to figure out how to do like this advanced math like in your head and stuff like without a calculator, because you won't have a calculator on you at all times.
Are they still saying that?
Yeah.
Your phone
Sometimes,
is a
and I'm just like,
I can ask
look
Siri.
at what is in my hand right now.
When we went to school, though, we didn't have that device.
Right.
We didn't have a calculator.
Oh crap! You're like an accountant.
But let's be real. So,
whoops.
I am one of those jobs that you do use the math. Here's the bad thing about that. Someone will go, "What's da 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 da?" And I'll go, "I don't have my 10 key," which is our calculator that we use for our job.
Oh.
It's become just part of me, and some of those simple skills, which I can still do, but sometimes you're like, I don't know. And you have to like really deal with it. So I am in the job that uses math that people think they're never going to use.
Well,
but there's other things I haven't used.
Yeah. There's
because
a
of this,
lot
so.
I haven't used.
Yes.
And, you know, maybe I have a weird approach to parenting, but I try not to bullshit them.
Yeah.
And if they
Here's
come
the
to me and they're like, when am I going to use this? Or they're like, help me with this problem. I'm like, we got to call your uncle because I don't know.
And there's
Can we
always like
Google
a
it?
varying difficulty between things in schools. There's like no in between of this. It's usually like way too easy, like something they teach in kindergarten, it seems, for some of my classes. And the others, it's like, what is this?
Do you have certain subjects you really like?
Not like...
You really loved shop class.
Yeah.
You really loved that building things. We still have that cat tower you made.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
I think almost it depends on the teacher.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he really loved science. What was that, your freshman year?
Think so.
Yeah, because she taught you like the pH levels of things and like it was very hands-on. He does better hands-on. But what you said about too simple and too hard, that can be difficult for someone like him who needs to see an end result. So if he already knows it, if it's too easy, I don't need to do that. I already know.
I know where this ends
If
up.
it's too hard, I can't even see the end of that. I'm not going to do that either.
Yeah.
He operates in that gray area.
That makes sense.
Yeah. What were you going to say? Talking about the science teacher that you liked?
I didn't have one just freshman. I had one sophomore and junior as well.
I think it makes a big difference, the teachers.
Yeah.
And that's
awesome.
what the
I think
special
I
ed...
had I think she also like teaches like English or something. I think I had her one time. Or something.
Okay.
I think I'm not.
Well, Christy's your English teacher.
Yeah, so I think with some other writing type.
But that's why I fought so hard for special ed, 100% for him, and you're really for your nephew too, because those teachers are just a different breed of people.
Yes.
They just get it on a different level.
Yeah, I think my sister now is almost on like a constant email stream or message stream. I don't know about daily, but constant with his SPED teacher because they've had to develop a different relationship than just the everyday teacher that's out there. You know, these days with COVID, teachers are doing new things that they never thought they would expect. No different with the SPED teachers. They're all in that same boat. And they're trying to teach a classroom virtually that really isn't meant to be virtual. And I know
it's hard
that's
to do
been,
sped.
that's been very
Yeah.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really hard because these kids are so hands-on. I mean,
Yes.
most of them.
Yeah.
Do you want to stretch?
No.
Okay. So it's just weird. And we did the virtual learning, but we had a teacher that we met at the library every other day. So
Yes.
now it's just, I'm just like, guys, did you log in? Like,
Yeah. It's a lot.
it's a whole new. I mean, it's the same, but the criteria is different.
Yeah.
So it's challenging.
Things looking like it's getting pretty full there.
Okay. Does that mean we have to
There's
finish
like
here
3
soon?
minutes left.
Okay.
Does that mean we have to finish soon? I think it'll probably reset to something else.
We'll
But
find out.
I don't know.
what's one thing you want everybody to know about a kid just like you?
Let's just treat us like normal people.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Don't try getting your children with autism to drink bleach. It's not gonna cure it.
What? Is that a thing?
There's seriously women, like, people who think that having their autistic kid, like, drink or be injected with bleach will fix the autism.
Okay, whatever website that is on the blacklist.
That is not.
It's usually anti-vaxxer moms.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're probably special cases where that's not, I don't think that's the typical. I feel like maybe that's a special case.
That's super anti-vaxxers.
That's a
mega
case.
mega anti. Yeah. He has a lot of feelings about all of that.
Got it.
Yeah.
I
Well,
remember one person making a joke, though, where it's like, I guess technically vaccines do cause autism because you're more likely to be autism if you're not dead.
oh goodness.
I'm sorry.
No.
Very dark.
No.
I knew that was
It's like,
coming.
you can't have autism if you're dead, I guess.
Hey, make a joke about whatever you want. This is your thing. This is your interview, not mine.
I mean, it's not
Mom's
my
laughing.
joke, it was somebody else's on the internet. It's
You
just
remembered it though,
This is
so.
a quote I just remember seeing.
Oh, I love
This is the raw reality
Yeah,
here. This is
dark.
reality.
dark
I also
humor.
saw one with like vaccines
I love
cause
it.
adults, and I don't like those.
Oh goodness.
That's true. I don't like adults.
None of us do.
They're terrible. Don't turn into one.
Uh,
Monsters.
Well, anything else you think we should say, or should I just close out?
Do you have any more awful dark things to talk about?
no.
Okay.
I think that was the one for the end.
Okay.
That was a good
All
one.
right. Well, I want to thank everyone for being a part of today's interview. I want to thank Zeke and Cara for joining us in their journey and explaining everything that they've gone through. I know it's been a very tough situation as you guys have gone through it. We've had some discussions about it, and I've learned a lot through my nephew. So thank you both for joining me. Thank you for being a part of this. If you're interested in continuing this journey with us, please like our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube where this is posted. We want to just get everyone involved and get them excited about some hope and inspiration and positivity in 2020 and hopefully on to 2021. So everybody, I hope you're having a great night, and we'll see you later. Bye.